We've got the first 2 rounds of the Dusty Classic and Lee vs. Dijakovic Part 5, featuring Cameron Grimes and Damian Priest used as weapons.
It's not just the American dream, folks. This is NXT. I watched Rocco's Modern Life's movie on Netflix, and yeah, so I've got all these like thoughts in my head about nostalgia and how that show was right, and it's amazing. Its social commentary is just off the chain because it's interwoven throughout, and the whole show in itself, just the existence of it, is directly referencing what the show is talking about. If you haven't seen this show, he's trying to get the fatheads back on air because he is so nostalgia sick, and he doesn't want change, but neither does Mr. Bighead. And it takes Mr. Bighead accepting the change of his son, the creator of the fatheads, becoming a female, that gets Rocco to accept the fact that things have changed in the last 30 years.
Support, no DQ.
Welcome everybody to What's NXT for January 8th, 2020. Got it right. I am your host, the Rated R reviewer, Stefan Osborne, joined as always by the General Jerry Slaughter.
Good morning, wrestling fans.
I know, does it get old?
No, it doesn't.
The same opening, and we try to get the same closing, and that's just so...
It's jelly.
It's just because if you change it up, then suddenly you have to reshoot over and over, because it's like, what was I supposed to say? But when you get it down pat, you know, get that intro in. Anyway, that's a lot of rambling. Let's not ramble, because we actually had a long show.
It's a massive show.
A very packed show, full of awesomeness. And you guys know me, I don't throw around the word awesome. But this show was full of awesome sauce.
I throw it like candy at parade.
I mean, if anybody's ever seen the movie National Lampoon's Van Wilder, with the dog and the eclairs, that's how jam-packed full of awesomeness this show was. Okay, so we start the show. What better way to start than Rhea Ripley?
No better way than Rhea Ripley.
I backed it up just to watch her entrance one more time. That stomp where the music changes and it gives you goosebumps and makes you... And she comes to the ring basically to talk about memories. Now, on her way to the ring, we were talking about the memory of about a year ago when she was the most hated female wrestler in NXT UK, even though she was the first ever NXT UK Women's Champion.
Yeah.
And come full circle a year later, now she's this baby face, and she is the NXT Women's Champion.
She's the standard bearer at this point.
Defeated Shayna Baszler. Okay. She comes out, and she wants to talk about memories. I guess that's why she said she'll never forget, and I'm like, well, yeah, you're talking about memories. Like,
it's been 2 weeks.
It's a roundabout way to be touching with the crowd right before she gets interrupted by who first? Who first? Let's see. Toni Storm.
Toni Storm.
She probably gets the most words out of anybody that gets to interrupt tonight. We're going to have a lot of bitches come out.
Yep.
And it's all good. It's all good. It's going to lead to some shit, and it's going to take the first 1/4 of this entire show, but it's totally worth it. Okay, so Toni Storm comes out, and she says, congratulations. I know you earned it. Blah, blah, blah. You're a baby face now. Fuck you, whatever is in the past. Other than the fact that she brings up the victory... Plural. She says, I beat you once, and how about that time I beat you again? And she says, I've got a triple threat match coming up this Sunday at NXT UK TakeOver Blackpool 2, and when I win that title, I'm going to see you at Worlds Collide, and I challenge you to a title versus title match. And she wants to become Tony Two Belts.
Well, she doesn't even say that. The crowd starts chanting it. It's like, oh God, don't give her any ideas.
You know what? I like it better than Shiny Shiny. So I still am hoping she doesn't get the title. But anyway, Kaylee Ray agrees with me and at least, you know, saying something, sticking up for herself. She's like, it's not a guarantee that you're going to take my title from me and be able to take it to Worlds Collide. That's all she gets to say. And then Io Shirai comes out.
Yep.
And she goes straight to the ring because Kaylee Ray was kind of just walking the ramp, chatting her box.
Well, first she tried to snatch the microphone out of Kaylee Ray's hand, and it just falls on the ground. So she picks it up and rolls into the ring.
So this is how good the women's division is on NXT UK. This is the segment out of the last year and a half that me and Jerry have been doing this show every week. This is the first segment I was like, holy shit, NXT has got a lot of microphones. Like, this is the segment. You wouldn't think like one of those where like there's fucking 7 dudes going for this. No, this was it. And, okay, so who's next? Io Shirai comes out. She gets in the ring, speaks a bunch of Japanese, but then points to the title and says, mine. So we get it. She wants the title. Bianca Belair comes out, hits the ring.
Great stuff.
And blesses us with the mic skills. Okay, I've got this written down. She says, 2020, Vision says that I'm better than you. She points at, not Kaylee Ray. She points at...
Toni Storm first.
Io Shirai. She said,
Io Shirai, yeah.
I'm better than you. I'm better than you. Points at Kaylee Ray. And then she points at Toni Storm, and she says, you don't even go here. And then she points at Rhea Ripley and she says, I sure as hell am better than you. And
you don't even go here.
We're not done. We're not done, sir, because Candice LeRae now comes out. She gets in the ring, but I think they ran out of mic.
She doesn't say a word.
Rhea Ripley just says to her, she's like, let me guess, you want a title match. And
you want to fight.
Like, yeah. She's like, you want to fight. And she's like, well, the good news is, so do I. And she decks Bianca Belair in the side of her face and knocks her teeth out. I swear to God. This breaks down. So we've got Rhea and Bianca Belair fighting. We've got Io and Candice LeRae fighting. And we've got Kaylee Ray and Toni Storm fighting. And all 3 of these make sense.
Yes.
Because when Bianca Belair came out, the most smack she talked and got into the face of was Rhea Ripley. And Rhea's the one that punched her out. Now, you've got Toni Storm and Kaylee Ray. They've got a match with Piper Niven coming up in 4 days. And then you've got, what were the other 2?
Io Shirai and Candice LeRae,
yeah.
who had seemingly had insignificant match at TakeOver Toronto.
Jesus Christ, they've been beating each other up for like 3 months now.
So I think it's the longest running feud that they've had in NXT since Gargano and Ciampa. Normally,
Aaron Rift would shit on a match like this, in a segment like this, and normally I would agree, but this was just so beautifully done, and ends in a, of course, 6-woman tag match. We've got the baby faces, Rhea Ripley, Candice LeRae, and Toni Storm versus the heels, Io Shirai, Kaylee Ray, and Bianca Belair.
Rhea wasted no time getting the referee out there. He saw it break down. He's like, oh, this is going to be good.
It just, it's great luck that they happen to come out 3 baby faces and 3 heels that are very obvious which teams that you should put them with. Otherwise, what if there been like 4 heels? What the fuck do you do? Put a heel on it with the 2 baby faces? That would be a weird dynamic.
Well, you're pretty much looking at the same teams that we had at War Games.
Well, that's my only crap on this segment. Other than that, it was very well done. All the women getting in the ring because they're like, okay, we have a new champion. It's not Shayna Baszler. Now we're going to try to defeat this champion.
Yeah.
And that's cool because the only person she's defeated in a title match is Shayna Baszler. And now everybody is looking like it's up for grabs. So I dig it. Before I break down this match, because there were some good spots here, what did you think about the opener?
It was just your general 6-person fair, and everybody got their spots in, and it was a great match, but nothing really to write home about. That I was already excited for our triple main event that we're going to be getting. This is a welcome surprise though, and Bianca Belair never ceases to amaze me. She seemingly gets better each time she gets in the ring.
This is a classic 6-man tag match that would close a show.
6 whoa man.
Well, I know, but
whoa.
Traditionally speaking, it would be the 6-man tag closing the show where you've got as much star power as you can possibly have. I'm pretty sure we've had that within the last week on WWE. It was either SmackDown or Raw where it ended with a 6-man tag match. I think it was SmackDown.
It was Raw because it was Authors of Pain and Seth Rollins versus
There you go.
Kevin Owens.
Yes, it was Raw. And this is they worked it just like any of those main event matches would be worked. Like you said, everybody got their spots in, but there were some spots in here that were really fun, like the little bit of storytelling they did on the heel side, where Bianca Belair got knocked off the apron by, who was it? Kaylee Ray? No, it was Io Shirai getting thrown into the ropes, and I'm like, man, bitches get thrown into the ropes all the time. Like you ain't gonna be like dropping off like that was you not paying attention, Bianca. That was you not being the EST. Because if you were the best at sight and vision and seeing things, you would have seen that coming and moved a little to the left.
Okay, Candace asked a little bit. Let's keep you on going.
That's my first note. Io knocks Bianca off the apron and Bianca gets pissed. So Kaylee Ray hits this beautiful swanton onto Candice LeRae, gets a near fall before the commercial break. Everyone's down. Let's see. LeRae hits Kaylee Ray, with a poison Rana, and gets the hot tag to Toni Storm. Because Candice LeRae was taking the brunt of the offense through the first
a good majority
60, of that 70% of the match. Like it was coming down to who's going to get the hot tag, because neither Ripley or Toni Storm had been in the match very much at all up to this point. Anyway, Toni Storm gets hit by a super kick from Kaylee Ray, and Io hits the running knees into the corner, but then goes up top to do a moonsault to finish the match, and Bianca Belair tags herself in. Smacks her while she's standing on the top ropes. She gets in the ring, and Io drop kicks Belair with when she puts Storm up for the KOD. So she doesn't hit her finisher. Instead, Rhea hits a big boot to Belair and a cravat with the knees to the face, a la, what was his name, Crimson in TNA. I really love that move. She puts her own spin on it. And then, let's see. Drop kick to a sitting Belair. Okay, yeah, so and then she hits the Riptide.
Yeah.
On Bianca Belair, gets the 1, 2, 3. So I think this is going to push maybe a Rhea Ripley versus Bianca Belair feud here, which is fine and dandy with me.
Gives a little bit of time for Mercedes Martinez to work her way in.
Fine and or dandy.
She's already done a really good match with Nikki Cross back in the day. So
we did have a little bit of aftermatch storyline here where Candice LeRae took a moment with the women's title before she handed it to Rhea Ripley so they could pose with all their arms in the air.
So could this also could this actually mean like a heel turn from Candice LeRae?
I like the fact that they're teasing it regardless of the outcome.
Yeah.
I know a lot of people hate when things are woven into either stories or just matches or incidents like this and aren't paid off with. And sometimes, that's a big pet peeve, but sometimes when you hint that something like that could happen, you're just doing that because, of course, that's how it would be. Yeah. Whether she's a babyface or not, she wants to be the champ too, you know. So even if Candice LeRae never turns into a heel while she's on NXT, you know, this kind of thing thrown in there every now and then just makes fucking sense. So I'm fine with it. Let's move on. We get a video package promo for Tommaso Ciampa. He says the greatest 238 days of his life where he was the greatest NXT champion of all time. And there is an emptiness inside him that he needs to fill.
Giggity.
That's what she said. So, I'm going to go ahead and spoil for later. We get a second Tommaso Ciampa promo. It was basically just like, it was too long, we cut it in 2 parts, and we're going to get half of it now. So let's save talking about this for later, because it will come up again. Yeah. I just wanted to get that quote in there. There's an emptiness inside of me that I need to fill. And I'm like, oh, God. Do you know what you're saying, my friend? So Steve Cutler and Wesley Blake with Jackson Riker, collectively known as something, I don't know, I forgot.
But the great thing about this, we're going to thank him right now. Thank you, Steve Cutler. for cutting your hair.
Cutler got a cut.
Yes. So now we can tell them apart in the ring. It wasn't just like the names on the tights. Every now and then that was a blur, but now we have one short hair guy, one long hair guy. We're good.
Much like the Fresh Whiz, he cut all the long hair off, but he actually cut his beard off too. I'm not gonna do that. That's what makes me the Wizard.
No, he still got the beard. It's just like trimmed up.
No, it's way short, super short. I mean, I don't consider, a regular trim with I don't consider that to be a beard until it's got some length. Otherwise, it's just
facial hair.
It's like a 35 o'clock shadow.
That's military time.
75. I call it the 75 o'clock shadow. Anyway, this was a good match. For the amount of time they were given, we had Fabian Eichner, who is sporting a broken nose guard.
Because he has a broken nose.
Yeah, but he's fighting through it, because fuck yeah, it's a Dusty
Because
Classic.
he's Eichner.
And this is easy. It might have been 8 minutes of completely televised match. I think we had a commercial break in there, probably.
Yeah.
But this is an 8-minute classic right here. Fun. There was no slow spots.
Nope.
You saw all of the great moves out of Eichner and Bartel, either hitting them or in the midst of hitting them and like getting
Forgotten Sons did like some amazing counters. These are two teams that study each other well, is what it was. And you would think Eichner was hampered some way by his face mask and everything. No, because halfway through a match that thing falls off and he still rocks.
And the one thing you usually worry about every year in the Dusty Rhodes Classic is the Forgotten Sons coming in and with the prestige of this trophy, having the audacity to use shameful, dirty means of Jackson Riker helping them win matches. In this case, they went the entire match without him getting involved, and before he could get involved, he got taken out.
Mm-hmm.
Now, before I break it all down and get there, do you have any other thoughts?
Eichner and Bartel are the shit. We've established this since they started teaming together at NXT UK. And granted, they had a little bit of a losing streak there at the beginning, but then Walter came along, reinvigorated them, like I said he would. And sure enough, now we're probably going to see them become champions this coming Sunday.
God, I hope so. So let's see. Eichner hits a senton roll that he rolls through into the corner and goes for a Vader bomb. But then he gets countered by, I've got it written down, I know I do, Cutler.
Yep. And that's when the mask pops off.
Yeah, he kicks him in the face, and so then he ends up, I think he goes for a Cabrana.
Yep.
And instead, he gets reversed with feet to the chin.
It actually looked like Drake was going to stop the match because the mask flew off, but then it was almost like Eichner waved him off and said, like, let's just keep going.
Let's keep going. And then we got the lawn dart. This is my favorite tag team move that they do, where Bartel throws Cutler off of the middle rope, seated on the top, throws him off into a deadlift.
I think it was Blake.
Whoever it was. Yeah. Stalling vertical suplex. Just beautiful. Beautiful. They don't get a pinfall, though. Just a near fall.
It was a brainbuster.
Let's see. Cutler pulls Eichner outside when he's trying to set up for the European bomb on Blake. And then the Forgotten Sons hit a fisherman driver with a super kick to the head before the driver gets dropped. And Eichner crossbody. Eichner comes off the top rope, hits a crossbody to the guy that's not pinning Bartel across the guy that is pinning Bartel.
Mm-hmm.
That was fun. To break up the pinfall, of course. Let's see. Blake hits a Rana out of the European bomb, but then Bartel kicks Cutler off the top rope. Like, he's going up top to hit the finisher because Blake did a backflip, almost like AJ Styles sets up when he jumps off the ropes in the middle. He does that backflip into the Scorpion Death Drop, and then waits for Cutler, I guess, to come off the top rope with the stomp as he drops the Death Drop.
The memory remained, yes.
There you go. But instead, Bartel kicks Cutler in the head, sends him off of the top rope onto Jackson Riker outside. And then Eichner rolls Blake over and then deadlifts him into a fucking last ride power bomb with the European uppercut out of the corner. The European bomb, 1, 2, 3. Imperium advances.
It's scary how strong and how agile Eichner is.
Jesus fucking Christ. And he didn't even do any of his fancy stuff, like when he does a triple or quadruple jump into a moonsault in the corner. Like,
no.
This dude is ridiculous. And together, just the shit they do, they hit that double basement drop kick to a hanging opponent in the corner out of nowhere. Because Eichner didn't do his normal run from the corner on the outside. He just kind of did the short run and jumped sideways into a drop kick.
Yeah.
Onto the apron to success. And it worked. Mm-hmm. It was great. This match was...
Can you imagine Eichner versus Dijakovic?
It was a Dusty Rhodes classic. Yeah, let's save that for another day. Let's move on to Kathy Kelly backstage interviewing Matt Riddle. She's talking about him getting to team up with Pete Dunne. He said, in the spirit of the Dusty Classic, that's what makes their team perfect. And he said when he went to talk to Pete Dunne, he said he got the Bruiserweight special. And he hit him with the Bro special. And together, that makes the
Broserweight.
The Broserweights, ladies and gentlemen. Ladies and gentlemen. Probably one lady, yeah. Lady and gentlemen. So, we're going to get that next week. In the meantime, we get a video package for Gallus, who we are going to get this week, just a little bit later. In the meantime, Austin Theory's back.
Yes.
And he's got a pretty cool entrance. And he is facing Joaquin Wilde, who I don't believe we've seen since he got eliminated from the Breakout Tournament.
He had one other match after that. I think it was against...
Rolodex memory over here.
I think it was against... I want to say it was against Bronson Reed.
Well, in this match, he didn't win either.
No.
Because I'm assuming Bronson Reed won that match too.
Joaquin Wilde hasn't won a match since he's been there.
Theory hits a slingshot single leg stomp, and I love this move. Out of the stomp, like the stomp makes the opponent's arms jar up for some reason. He grabs the arms and deadlift pulls them into a vertical, into sort of a fisherman's drop.
Beautifully done.
It was great. And then he wins the match. Like, he's on the outside, and Joaquin Wilde's trying to run off the ropes, probably do a suicide dive. Instead, he gets on the ropes, talking about Theory, gets on the apron and dive/rolls through the ropes into a drop kick, and then picks him up for a TKO. A wicked TKO. This, to me, it looked more like a fireman's carry into a legitimate diamond cutter.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's how the TKO is supposed to look. Mark Mero just ruined it.
Usually when I think TKO, I feel like they keep hold of the neck for the whole move.
Yeah.
They just swing them into it. In this case...
This is like a diamond cutter variation.
He threw him into the air and then grabbed him. So maybe it was...
Like he should have just given himself a self-high-five right afterwards from it.
Yeah. It was sweet. I almost don't want to call it a TKO. I want to find out what he calls it so I can name it properly. But good match. After this, we've got Damian Priest backstage. I know he's saying some of those catchphrases he likes to say, but mostly I just noticed the two chicks that he's hanging out with. This is Damian Priest. He has that nightlife feel about him. He's a little dark, but at the same time, he's all about the ladies and the parties.
But he's also about arching.
Yeah. For some reason, he likes to shoot a bow and arrow.
Jason Momoa throws axes.
I don't know. He's pretty good. He hits those screens every time.
Yep.
Even when he's shooting straight above his head to that smaller screen, somehow he hits it every time.
He even does it with just 2 fingers. He goes...
So, he's coming up later. He says his name will live forever when he wins this match, blah, blah, blah. Moving on to the second match in the Dusty Rhodes Classic, Kyle O'Reilly, Bobby Fish of the Undisputed Era, Mark Coffey, and Wolfgang of Gallus. Now, the note here is that Bobby Fish and Kyle O'Reilly come out with Adam Cole and Roderick Strong, and they stay.
Yeah.
Gallus does not come out as a whole. We get just Joe Coffey and just Wolfgang, no Joe.
No,
or just Mark Coffey and Wolfgang, no Joe. Doesn't come out with them. Doesn't do the handshake at the top of the ramp. And
no Joe!
So don't know where he is, but if you think that's going to matter, you're damn right. You damn right it's going to matter, and that means Kyle O'Reilly and Bobby Fish move on. I have a few notes here, but mostly I was just enjoying the match because it wasn't like a spot fest or anything, but it wasn't some slow-ass fucking match that a bunch of lumbering guys might do.
It was a textbook match.
Yeah, it was a little bit technical, a little bit powerhouse, especially when Wolfgang got in there. And I have to say, and I mentioned that, no homo, or maybe homo, I don't know. Wolfgang looks great. He looks like he's dropped like 20 or 30 pounds since this time a year ago when NXT UK was fledgling. Not fledgling. Infancy. In its infancy. There we go.
Yes.
So just shout out to Wolfgang, man. Looking good, brother. Looking good. He must be on that intermittent fasting diet or something.
I'm about to say he's probably doing the same kind of workouts that Big Show's been doing to get in shape. So.
Any notes on this match, man?
It was just an awesome match in general. Like Wolfgang, well, I liked it because Wolfgang got a lot of good stuff in. So did Mark Coffey. Mark Coffey's still wearing duct tape around him. I'm not really sure what's up with that. But the fact you said it towards the end there, like the whole chasing the dragon. Granted, like they're called Red Dragon back in ROH and everything, but that's heroin.
I think this match was great in principle for what it was, but there was a lot of problems for me in this match, starting with the fact that the very first time that the Undisputed Era from the outside, Roderick Strong and Adam Cole, got interfered in this match, one got up on one apron, one got up on the other apron, and at that point, because it helped their team get the upper hand, at that point the ref should have been like, oh, this is how it's going to be, you both need to leave. Because one right after right in front of the ref, like no distracting the ref, none of that. No, it's not till later the ref is distracted so Adam Cole can kick a motherfucker, I don't even remember which one, I think it was Wolfgang, in the face while he's draped over the ropes, and then it goes right into the high-low. So I have a few spots. Gallus do hit that catapult and the Samoan drop that they like to hit. It's sort of their finishing move, more like a signature. Got a near fall. And then the breakdown where everybody gets up all at the same time and start knocking each other down. And then Wolfgang throws Mark Coffey over the top rope after he runs off the ropes. Like, slings him over onto, was it all of Undisputed Era?
Yeah, it was all four of them.
But, no. He was trying to throw it onto both of the tag team, onto Bobby Fish and Kyle O'Reilly. And I think Kyle O'Reilly got out of the way. Anyway, back in the ring, this is where Wolfgang gets kicked in the face by Cole off of the distraction by, I think it was Bobby Fish. And then the high-low. Pinfall on Wolfgang. 1, 2, 3. I guess if you're going to have the NXT UK team win earlier, this makes sense. I know it is champion versus champion, but right now they are really trying to make Undisputed Era look strong. And when you stack them up against each other, this is the right call because Gallus still is 3 people. Even if Joe Coffey had been out there, it wouldn't have mattered. It's 3 against 4. So the odds still should have been with the Undisputed Era. And I'm fine with all of this. I just don't think it was like the superbness of a match. Like, it's all right. Anyway.
I'll say this. I still like the Cutler Blake and Eichner Bartel match better.
Agreed. So we get a video recap of Finn Balor attacking Johnny Gargano when he returned a few months ago. And then Gargano attacking Finn Balor and costing him the title match last month. And this works its way into a video promo for the Southwest subculture. So like we're moving right along. This is basically reminding us of what happened to Johnny Gargano because he's going to come out a little bit later. And then the man with 3 names, Flash Morgan Webster, Mark Andrews. Let's just let me do it. They have their little promo where they say they're the most exciting team in all of NXT, which I'll grant them that.
I'm about to say they gel well as a team. I can't stand like Flash Morgan Webster on his own.
They are definitely the most high-flying team of any legitimate tag team, especially former title holders in NXT. So I'll grant them that. Now this is where we get Johnny Gargano coming to the ring. He is going to call out Prince Balor because he said that even though Balor comes back and he attacks him and blah, 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 and he says he was the flagship of the show, he said, when you got that call 4 years ago, you bailed from NXT. You couldn't get out of here quick enough. But when I got that call a year or so ago, he said, I stayed. And me and Jerry are both thinking the same thing. Yeah, because Ciampa got injured and they had nothing for you anymore. So you had to come back.
Sorry, Gargano.
Sorry, Big G.
Sorry, Johnny.
This brings out Finn Balor, who, I guess Gargano said he threw away Finn Balor's map and then blasted NXT into outer space. And I'm like, somebody's fucking high. So yeah, Balor comes out because he's insulted by this, I guess. But he says to Johnny, he says NXT didn't, he says the only thing he's out here for a promo, so they should call him Johnny Promo because that's the only thing. Yeah, I fucked that up. That's the only thing a doctor will clear him to do. Cut a promo. And here I am botching the whole thing. Yeah, he comes out because Gargano says NXT doesn't need him anymore. That's what pissed him off. That's why I got all fucking flabbergasted. I lost my notes. Anyway, he says he's going to give Gargano his moment at NXT TakeOver Portland if he makes it that far. Now, this is the first match basically being announced for NXT TakeOver Portland. I think that is telling, but I also think this feud needs that. It needs that importance because most of the feuds we're going to get at TakeOver are going to be for titles, so you know they have meaning built into them. I'm digging this because it's a few months later than they wanted to do it, but I think that has given it more momentum as far as the feud goes.
If anything, Gargano's absence for a little bit there and then his return just reinvigorated it even further. So.
Well, as Johnny said, he got taken out for 3 months and Johnny TakeOver had to miss a takeover.
Yeah.
So that's why Finn Balor says, I'm going to give you your chance to have your takeover moment now because if you can make it to Portland. Is it Portland?
Yeah.
If you can make it to Portland, then we'll have a match, basically. So let's move on. Cameron Grimes, backstage, talking to himself. He's in that Fatal 4-Way tonight that's going to determine the #1 contender for the North American Championship. And he's backstage talking to himself with the hat on. Psyching himself up. I have no other notes. We get a video package, promo for the Grizzled Young Veterans, soon to be the world's #1 tag team. So they're changing up the... either they're changing it up or NXT editors doing the promo package have changed it up for them. But either way,
still sounded good.
In this context, I'm glad that we've got him referring to them as the team being the #1 as opposed to him being the #1 wrestler from Liverpool, I think.
Yep.
Something like
Liverpool's #1.
Liverpool's #1. After this, we get the announcement for Kushida's mystery partner. Now, you really enjoyed this.
Yes, I did.
No fucking clue what was going on. Alex Shelley.
I thought, there's part of me that really wanted that to happen, but I just seen him on Ring of Honor's most recent pay-per-view, Final Battle, and he faced Colt Cabana and actually beat Colt Cabana, so I thought he was going to be there for a while longer. But now it looks like he's going to be, reuniting with the Time Splitters, at least for this event.
Yeah, at least one match.
For at least this match.
Unless they get taken out backstage by... No, it's not going to
happen. Alex Shelley was supposed to be coming in to WWE at one point, right around the same time as The Shield was brought in. So I thought he would be an interesting member of The Shield. You haven't seen really Alex Shelley do any work, so you're in for a treat.
Excuse me, folks. That does happen. I could edit it, but I won't. Officially... Our rundown for next week in the Dusty Rhodes Classic is now Kushida and Alex Shelley, the Time Splitters, although they probably won't use that, versus Zach Gibson and James Drake, the Grizzled Young Veterans. And then we've got the mix and match tag team of Matt Riddle and Pete Dunne versus say it there.
The Broserweights.
I don't even want to say it. I liked it the first time, but every time I've said it since, I just can't say it. They are facing Mark Andrews and Flash Morgan Webster, the South Wales subculture, the team with too many names.
Yes.
So that's next week. This week, before the main event, I didn't think we really had time for all this shit, but before the main event, we've got Mia Yim and Caden Carter. Now, babyface versus babyface. So we see the show of respect in the match when the match is over, because obviously Mia Yim is going to beat Kaden Carter. We see the fucking respect. Like, if it's going to be a squash match in any form or fashion, at least have it babyface versus heel. Like, you could have had Bordeaux. What's her first name?
Scarlett Bordeaux.
There you go. Scarlett Bordeaux. Like, make her debut and lose.
Or Vanessa Bourne. She's doing nothing right now since Aaliyah's out.
Yeah. Anybody but a babyface. But I guess it built towards the after match. Before I get there, though, like, see, I've got some notes. Carter hits this running... Oh, okay, we both love this.
Yes, we rewound it.
Again.
And kudos to Kaden Carter for pulling this shit off. It looks sick.
So she knocks Mia Yim into a seated position up against the ropes, and not in the corner, in the middle, and then does a running face wash into Mia Yim, into her face, through the ropes, to where I called it the camel toe face wash, because the camera had the perfect angle, ladies and gentlemen. Anyway, that was a really cool move. She got a near fall off of it, and she jumps out of the corner into a protect your neck for the pinfall. Now, the aftermatch here is that Yim helps Carter up, like I said, the aftermatch show of respect. But as soon as she helps her up, Chelsea Green appears and knocks Carter into Yim from behind.
And Yim falls out of the ring.
And she stands tall, and she goes to head back up the ramp, and suddenly there's a dude in like this 80s suit with these big glasses with a microphone. And I'm like, who's this motherfucker? Well, he says 2020 is the year the Robert Stone brand takes over NXT, says the guy in the suit, starting with the hottest, he repeats, hottest free agent signing, Chelsea Green. Chelsea Green is pretty hot.
Yeah.
I got to admit. But not nearly as hot as that 6-woman tag match that opened the show. I said this when we watched it. I was like, man, if it wasn't for Kaylee Ray, this would be a great porno. Anyway, let's move on.
Well, the thing is, I think I see him being almost like the Paulie Dangerously and possibly forming almost like a Dangerous Alliance type group in there.
Now, you said the thought that should have been on my mind.
That Kona Reeves should be, like, he should, like, sign with him.
Yeah, he needs to get Kona Reeves, and while he's at it, snatch up Vanessa Bourne while she's by herself and fragile.
Yep,
and
that'd
lonely.
Be awesome.
Snatch her up. That way you acquire...
fragile and lonely.
That way you acquire Aaliyah by proxy when she comes back from injury.
It would almost look like a Charlie's Angels type group with Chelsea.
And then you need one more dude. And while you're thinking about it, let me read my notes here. Backstage, Dominik Dijakovic, and he's punching the air and kicking the air and
talking to himself.
He said he promised his family the North American Championship 9 months ago, and I'm like, that's a very specific title to promise your family when you know you are a heavyweight and there is a more prestigious title.
Is it just me, or can I not take him seriously because he was like doing it in between punches and kicks?
And not to a bag or friends that are holding those punch.
Yeah, like if somebody was like, helping him train or some shit, and he's like talking all smack and getting it out, I can understand that. But he's just kicking and punching air.
But yeah, they don't do a lot for him with promos, but in the ring,
he's one of those people that needs to pretty much just shut up and destroy.
Speaking of those terms, he's one of those ones that shut me up. Mm-hmm. We've had a few of them. Matt Riddle has shut both of us up. Mm-hmm. Dominik Dijakovic, for the first several weeks when it was just promos, and I'm calling him Dijakovic because it just, why would you name him this when people could call him a jackoff? Well, it's because
and he's in those squash matches that
they don't do anything for him. They show a few of his moves, but then they put him in there with Keith Lee, and now it's like, all right,
magic. We saw it.
Dominik Dijakovic. I will pronounce it correctly from here on out. Anyway, he's going to be in the main event tonight, that Fatal 4-Way. In the meantime, we get the other half of our video promo for Tommaso Ciampa. He's calling out Adam Cole. He never lost the title. He wants Goldie back, and he only needs one chance. And at the end of this, I love this. He holds up those title plates that say Ciampa, the ones that go on the side plates on the belt.
I think if anything, he probably should have been wearing those as a necklace or something, like almost like dog tags.
There are very few exceptions for me when it comes to who is the number one contender and just sticking somebody in the spot. I think it's sometimes lazy writing when they write in some fight because one guy comes out, usually the champ, and then another guy comes out, challenges him, and beats him up, and they're like, well, fine, we'll settle this for the title at the pay-per-view for no goddamn reason. In this case, Ciampa's got every reason to call out Adam Cole because it doesn't even matter that it's Adam Cole. Whoever the champion is, he didn't lose the title, and he's back. He wants it back. He wants Goldie. And this is just setting up the main event, hopefully, for NXT TakeOver Portland, and we don't need a number one contenders match. We're just going to go right into it, folks. And this did it very well. I like the fact that they split it up into 2 segments. It made it feel more important. They honestly damn near bookended the show because this is the last thing we get before the main event other than an announcement for a women's match next week, which we get halfway through the entrances to the main event.
Yeah.
So before we dig into the main event and announce the Battle Royal for next week, any last thoughts?
No.
Well, we're at almost 40 minutes, 30 minutes.
I was already amped for the Fatal 4-Way match, and this whole show, in general, I thought was just perfect. The flow of it has been great.
Oh yeah, it didn't feel like 2 hours at all.
No, it didn't. It just zoomed by.
Even through the commercials that we watched because we actually had show going on up in the split screen. So we get Damian Priest coming out, Cameron Grimes coming out, and Dominik Dijakovic. Now Grimes and Dijakovic came out during the break, so I think that's okay. Neither one of their music is anything to fucking write home about.
No.
Like, it doesn't give you goosebumps or nothing. In fact, other than the fact that Cameron Grimes' music starts with that classic sounding harmonica, I would never be able to tell that it was his music.
Yeah.
And I could honestly not tell you anything at all about Dominik Dijakovic's music. Couldn't tell you if it's hard or heavy or what the tempo is even like nothing. Like, so it's fine. Because the prime show here is Keith Lee. So we come back from break and we get the announcement for the number one contender battle royal for the women's title. We've got Bianca Belair, Candice LeRae, Chelsea Green, Dakota Kai, Vanessa Bourne, Kaden Carter, Mia Yim, Io Shirai, Santana Garrett, Shotzi Blackheart, and Xia Li. It's a lot of chicks. And that's going to be fun. You said Bianca Belair. I think Chelsea Green's got a good shot too.
Well, I was about to say, like, it's going to, for me, it's either Bianca Belair or Dakota Kai, but I think Bianca Belair is going to be the one that gets it this time.
It looks like that's the feud that we're looking at, and
I can't complain about that.
I don't know. We did see her and Rhea Ripley before Ripley got the title opportunity, but that was before she had the title, so maybe.
This will only make Bianca work even harder, especially if it's a takeover match.
That's true. She wants to shut up Sam Roberts.
I think everybody does.
Everybody wants to shut him. I want to shut up, what's his name?
Pat McAfee?
I want to shut his knees up. If you're wearing,
cover him up.
You're wearing half a suit, there's no reason for me to see your knees. I'm just saying.
See his knees.
At the very least, wear board shorts, something that comes, about mid-shin. That way they can pan the camera back and we don't have to see your pasty white thighs. Or your pasty white... Anyway. So, Dominik Dijakovic, Damian Priest, Cameron Grimes, Keith Lee. What the fuck else can we say about this match? Other than awesome. This was awesome.
There are parts we actually screamed at. That doesn't happen very often when we're actually watching these shows. We're like, oh man, that was cool, or it's like, or the occasional what? But yeah, towards the end,
ooh,
it was a spot fest and a half, and it was just beautiful.
I have a half a page of notes here, man. Like, do I really want to get? Yeah, I want to. Okay, so Dominik Dijakovic, I love how about 3 or 4 minutes toward the beginning of this match was just this fluidity between Dominik Dijakovic and Keith Lee, where they're working on, respectively, either Cameron Grimes or Damian Priest, because they were trading off. And at one point, Dominik Dijakovic hits that time to fly into Keith Lee, who grabs, I think it was Damian Priest.
Damian Priest.
And instead of pulling him up for a powerbomb right away, he uses him to knock down Cameron Grimes, knock down Dominic Dijakovic onto his knees, and then picks him up for a powerbomb. Damian Priest across Dominic Dijakovic's back. Holy shit.
That was a lot to say.
That was just the first note.
Yeah.
Let's see. Grimes and Dominic Dijakovic start double teaming Lee on the outside because Lee is taking everybody out at this point. And they figure, well, now we got to team up. Odd bedfellows, I guess. Lee fights them off, but then Priest goes to do that running tope over the top rope where he kind of skip trips over the middle rope.
Yep.
Or using the middle rope. But he stops. He jumps onto the middle rope single-legged and jumps back. That is some skill.
He actually paused, like while he was on. He perched for a second. He's like, "Yeah, no,"
and jumps back. And Keith Lee's like, "Well," because I think the last time he did that to a lone Keith Lee snatched him up,
upside down,
he did earlier, in a powerbomb position. So this time he avoids it, waits a moment for them all to collect and beat up each other. That's the other three guys, and then does it in the corner onto all three dudes.
He kind of switched the angle on it because it almost looked like he was going to be going right over the ring post. That would have sucked.
So back in the ring, I think Damian Priest is going up top, and Keith Lee does this wicked headbutt, lifting him into the air, back to be seated on the top rope. And I think he's on the apron. He does this deadlift, this Cesaro-like deadlift from the middle rope, vertical suplex back into the ring. And then a moonsault
from Dijakovic. Right on Keith Lee's booty.
For the near fall. Let's see, Grimes hits a super kick and a side kick and a German with a bridge for a near fall on Dominic Dijakovic.
An Everest German. It was very slow moving and just very powerful looking. The fact that Cameron Grimes actually pulled that off on Dijakovic, who's 6'7", 270 pounds. That was impressive.
Next spot. So Damian Priest goes up top following Cameron Grimes and hits a Hurricane Rana, launching him off the top rope into Keith Lee, who again catches him in a powerbomb. And what does he do with them? Oh, he doesn't get to hit it because then Dominic Dijakovic gets in, kicks Damian Priest, and then kicks Keith Lee, and then pulls Cameron Grimes out of Keith Lee's powerbomb into a Feast Your Eyes. Let's see, off of the Feast Your Eyes, Lee pounces Dominic Dijakovic over the top rope and out of the ring.
Yep.
Yeah. And then Priest hits a Reckoning because he kicks Lee in the side of the neck and then pulls him back, hits a Reckoning, and somehow Dominic Dijakovic manages to get up and kick Damian Priest in the head.
Through the ropes
To end the count for just a near fall. And we're not done.
No.
So
this is where it picks up the pace.
Yeah, Dominic Dijakovic and Damian Priest start battling each other. They hit stereo big boots, knocks each other down, and then they grab each other's throat in a stereo choke as they get up. And as soon as they get up, here comes, I've called this the sudden Lee.
Yep.
Because Keith Lee just emerges from that background.
Like Godzilla out of the water.
Support, no DQ.
I'm glad that they've realized that this is gold, and thank God this happened on NXT, because if not, it would have been another Rusev Day, probably.
Yeah.
This kind of thing. Anyway. After the sudden Lee, we get a double choke slam. That was fun. But then Grimes gets back in the ring and catches Lee trying to do a suicida. So after the choke slams, they're on the outside. Lee goes to run off the ropes. And instead, Cameron Grimes runs in and does that.
The collision course.
The collision course. So it's like a backflip. So a Spanish fly, but a power slam. It's just, if you don't know what, just see it.
Awesome. It was just brilliant and crisp to watch.
Perfectly done. And on a guy the size of Keith Lee, that was awesome. But he only gets a near fall.
That was all about centrifugal force right there.
Yeah. He only gets a near fall, though. Grimes hits a spring moonsault to Priest outside. So he runs into the corner, jumps up onto the top rope, does a moonsault onto Damian Priest.
Excellent moonsault.
Gets back up on the apron in time for Dominic Dijakovic to get on the apron. runs with a cave-in onto the apron, which is the hardest part of the ring, don't you know? Gets back in the ring. He wants to set up Lee. I think he comes off the top rope. I don't know what he was going to go for, but he catches a double slap to the chest, which knocks him down. And then he runs into a pop-up, into a spirit bomb. And we're talking full extension last ride, full sit-out with the bang and the jump, the bounce.
It looked like they were going to have to get a cherry picker out there to get Cameron Grimes out of the ring.
1, 2, 3 on Cameron Grimes. Keith Lee moves on in 2 weeks' time. Roderick Strong versus Keith Lee for the North American Championship.
I think this will be a time where he actually drops the belt.
Bask in his glory, motherfuckers. That brings us to the end of the main event. And here on What's NXT, we like to rate the main event using the General's 5-star rating system. And Jerry, out of 5 stars, where do you rate the 4-man Fatal 4-Way North American Championship #1 contenders main event here tonight?
If it weren't going to be 4 3/4, I'm going to go ahead and say 5.
Holy shit.
Everything about this match was just beautiful. Even like during the commercial break, you said it yourself, there wasn't a slow moment. They could have easily had this match become like, really like just slowed down 2-on-2 a lot, but or 1-on-1 a lot, but it didn't. You saw a lot of teamwork coming out of both sides, and those like crashed really, really quickly. And just all the different styles he had in the ring. You didn't really expect Cameron Grimes to be pulling off the shit that he pulled on guys that size, but he did. And he actually came out looking like an even bigger star than he has been portraying himself as to be the past couple weeks. So I just loved the entire match. I kind of knew Keith Lee was going to come out as the winner because he's on such a roll right now, and he was the big baby face. But even then, for me, you've seen it. Even if I know the end of a match, I just like watching what goes into it and how it ends up playing out. So this did not disappoint me in any way, shape, or form. And I'm giving it a 5 because, like, even if I put it as 4 3/4, the rest of the show is fucking phenomenal too. So I gave it an extra quarter off that.
So for me, a Fatal 4-Way just lends itself to a fun main event for a number of reasons. When it's a true Fatal 4-Way, and I say that because some Fatal 4-Ways are elimination.
Yeah.
When you have elimination, you negate the I want to say a rule, but it's more like a break of rule. In a Fatal 4-Way or a triple threat match, there's no disqualification and there's no count out, because if somebody gains a disqualification, who gets the win? Like, you have 2 people that could get the win off of the other guy's loss. So nobody can lose without only one person winning.
Yeah.
And those same rules apply with a traditional Fatal 4-Way. And it's like a triple threat where you can have 2 guys going full speed all the time, because at some point one guy gets knocked down and he can take a rest while the other guy comes in. It's like that on steroids, because now you've got one guy taking a breath while you've got 3 guys doing some shit. Either some of those crazy TNA moves back in the X Division when it had to be a triple threat match and they were coming up with these crazy one guy doing one move on one dude but simultaneously another move on the other dude kind of shit. And then the reversal, like, those are fun, but also where you had Keith Lee and Dominik Dijakovic doing their thing towards the beginning, where you had Dominik Dijakovic and Cameron Grimes double teaming on Keith Lee and then him fighting back. Like, you've got things that can go on between 3 guys while one guy's catching his breath. You don't have to have rest holds. You don't have to have a lot of downtime. It is built for a fun match. So, I want to agree with you, but I'm going to call the match in itself 4.5 stars. Because it was awesome. It was really fun. It was a great match. Easily a great match. But I don't know if I'd call it like 4 3/4 stars. There was just so much going on. And I don't think there was a lot of storyline other than just the fun spot we got to see with Keith Lee and Dominik Dijakovic, where again they're teasing them being a team. I feel like this is going to be one of those things that circles the drain for so long. By the time it finally flushes, we're going to be like, we're past it.
Yeah. So
I'm going to give it 4.5 and an extra quarter star, coming off the back of a great show. An awesome show.
That was a jam-packed full show, and next week looks even crazier. Because we're going to have the next two matches from the Dusty Classic. We're also going to have the women's battle royal. So
I give it 4 3/4. Mm-hmm. The general gives it 5 stars.
I'm giving it 5.
That brings us to the end of this episode of What's NXT. Thank you for joining us. Please join us tomorrow for the NXT party. We will be reviewing episode number 77 of NXT UK. So join us for that. I believe we will be having James Hebert and Owen Finch.
Hopefully, yes.
I think the original dynamic duo.
Mm-hmm.
So that should be really fun. But if you would like to shove them another week in advance, bump them off the show, you can do that. If you want to be a brand new member to the NXT team, we will put you up on the screen by yourself for your first episode. If that interests you, we will put you in the NXT team chat room. We'll give you a funny nickname or a fun one or a serious one, or you can pick your own. Mm-hmm. Everybody gets a nickname.
We're flexible.
Yeah, come with a nickname if you want. Call yourself whatever you want. This is your opportunity. But you got to watch an episode of NXT UK and come join us for a review. In the meantime, you can leave an email down below to let us get a hold of you, or if you want to find us on social media, you can look me up at nodq.com/Stefan, that's Stefan, or if you just want to look me up on Twitter, it's at Stefan R. Osborne, OSBORNE. As always, the R stands for restricted. You can also find the gentleman on Twitter. Fuck bomb.
At General_JSJ and my Facebook group Armbar, all capital ARMBAR.
Yeah, exclamation point.
And I also went ahead and started a Facebook group for Aftermatch Wrestling.
Yes, he did.
Yep. And Colin Andrew has us on Instagram, Aftermatch_Wrestling.
You can find me on Instagram at osborne.stefan, and Jerry on Instagram, the_gentleman_slaughter.
Mm-hmm.
The Gentleman Slaughter.
Mm-hmm.
And let's see, you can also find us on Patreon at Stefan R. Osborne if you want to help the show and can financially. If you want to help the show and you just have a few seconds, if you like the show, click the like button. That helps. If you like all our shows, click the subscribe button. That'll let you know when the next one comes on, and you can watch it. If you want to help us grow the channel, click the share button. Share it on Twitter, Facebook. Share this video anywhere that you have friends that might like to watch wrestling. They might like to watch us bullshit about NXT and NXT UK. Mm-hmm. Other than that, I think that's all the plugs.
We'll also be doing the prediction video tomorrow.
For NXT UK TakeOver Blackpool 2.
We'll have the Simple Man, Noah Foster, with us, which is always a hoot.
You know what's really great? This time a year ago, I was struggling so hard to say NXT UK TakeOver Blackpool.
Yep.
And
but now it just flows out and you can say 2 right at the end.
Yep. So anyway, a nod to our year-old fans.
Yep.
So basically a nod to
Israel Diaz.
Shout out to Israel. It's been a while. We love you, man. So for the General, Jerry Slaughter, I am the Wizard of No DQ, the Fresh Whiz, Stefan Osborne. Thank you for joining us, and we will see you in NXT time.